Whole lot of gang shit. It's a whole lot of gang shit going on. What's good, y'all? What's happening? What's cracking? It's your girl, Lady Rev. And I am here with another episode of Talking Out the Side of the Neck. You know, Talking Out the Side of the Neck is meant to be a place where we can talk about different strategies and tactics to initiate and sustain our own healing. And ultimately, I also want to talk about, more worldly things, such as like operating in the larger society. But I start at the individual level first because it starts with that individual level. It's been a long time since I got to make an episode, so I'm really actually ecstatic to be back. My GoPro was acting like a bitch. I'm over this thing, y'all. I don't even want it no more. I'm over the GoPro. So I'm doing this shit on my phone, which means like I had to put my notes in a different place because I usually have some notes. But we are back, 2023. We off with it. This episode is gonna be called "Sizing Up" or "Size Up." I guess the idea came from like something I believe I've kind of talked about in the past, but just kind of realizing that it is a bigger, like it holds a lot of weight, so we got to constantly kind of revisit it. And that's basically the idea of how we place value in ourselves and not allowing that value to be based on how other people value you. So I know I talked about that in the past, but it felt like it needed some reiteration. I recently went through some shit my damn self where I kind of was like, I realized some like, I don't know if it was like hateration type shit or more so like a lack of self-love type shit, but like, I've been getting out and doing poetry and I've been getting into these spaces that I never really imagined myself being in. And in those spaces, like everybody's a published author. Like everybody has a book, everybody working on the next book type shit. They have like something tangible to give people when they come to these shows. And I was at a show, I believe it was at the library, I was at a show. And I'm surrounded by all these dope ass poets. They all got books and shit. And then this lady came up to me and was like, "What do you have anything? Because I really enjoyed your work." And I was like, "No, I ain't got no book." And I kind of had said it kind of like salty-ish or whatever. And one of the poet friends was like, "Okay, you don't have a book right now, but you might have something coming. But still, like, give people your handles and stuff like that." I didn't really think about it in that moment, like how I had so quickly devalued myself just on principle that I didn't have the same deliverables that the other folks around me had. And then it got me to thinking like, well, damn, what do you consider to be value? Like, and as a poet, like, and being in so many, like, not random, but like, there's so many different types of poetry, and those different types don't always necessarily intermingle. Whereas I feel like I have so many different types of poet friends that I end up in a lot of like different types of poetry settings, and just kind of try to be flexible between that. But either way, it was just like, just understanding that the quality of my work and what my work has to give should not be compared to someone else's. And it doesn't mean I'm not doing good or whatever just because I didn't have any deliverables. So that's what the size up concept came to me as, like, measuring yourself based on what other people have going on will never be a satisfying measure. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's 4th of July, they popping shit. If we were to constantly compare our progress and our whatever to the next motherfucker that we looking at, we will probably never quite be satisfied. The trick to that too also is that there are people who measure ourselves, our shit, measure us based on their own perceptions, based on their own comparisons. And I think it gets tricky to not get caught up in the hype of both of those things. Like, for one, you comparing yourself to other motherfuckers and getting caught in that. And also, like, people in your circle comparing you to other motherfuckers and getting caught up in that. I think it is critical that we are mindful of, like, how we think about that type of shit. Because, like, other people's measurements is going to be dictated by, like, their own perception of life, the things that they're going through, the things that they value, the things that they think are important, the things that they determine as success. And so ultimately, they would have a clouded judgment for your own personal shit. Now, some of us are blessed to be around people who can see past that type of shit and be like, hey, for you, where you at and what you got going on, that's perfect. Like, that fits you so well. I'm so happy for you. You're moving, you're grooving, whatever. But when we look at the vast majority of, like, folks that we have to interact and encounter with in the, like, larger world, you probably run into a lot more motherfuckers clouded by judgment than you are walking into, like, clear-headed motherfuckers. And that's like a tricky, that's a slippery slope type shit, because not only is their judgment clouded, but they're gonna prioritize their shit over your shit. So even if your shit is better, even if your shit makes sense, even if your shit is successful, it's fire, it's delivering or whatever your shit is doing, the next motherfucker isn't gonna place no value in that because it probably doesn't connect to their own shit. Now, some people are innately selfish, and I'm not talking about the healthy type of selfishness that we've talked about in the past. I'm talking about, like, motherfuckers just so self-absorbed in a way that they can't see past themselves, that they won't even realize that they're doing this shit to you. And that's when the shit gets real toxic, because that's like some narcissism type shit. Like, you don't even see that you an asshole. Like, you don't even see how you're affecting other motherfuckers or how you're impacting people and bringing down the esteem of other people, which is why it's important for us to have our own self-esteem in the first place. In all honesty, it's nobody's job to, like, agree with or uplift what we say, do, and feel. But it is nice to have support from folks, which is why, like, having a village becomes essential. I think I've talked in the past about, like, who is your village? What does that village look like? What do you need from a village? So all those things kind of fall into the same thing of sizing up where you at. Sizing up where you at. And people, it's crazy because, you know, depending on how you think and how you, like, interact with the environment and shit, you can find people sizing you up in the smallest little ways. Like, in the smallest little ways. Or we size ourselves up in the smallest little ways. And all of that shit starts to add up and add up and add up till next thing you know, like, you're not confident no more, or you don't feel secure no more, or you might not think you qualified. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it'll just start to pull down the morale that you have for yourself. And so we got to protect ourselves from that. Like, I think what made me kind of revisit this concept and could probably go a little more deeper than I have in the past is that it is prevalent in almost every area of your life, bro. You will deal with that shit at work. You'll deal with that shit with your family. You'll deal with it with your friends, your partners. I don't know, strangers. Like, even on the streets, you know what I'm saying? You know how it is, man. You make eye contact with a motherfucker, and you sitting there like, so who gonna stop looking first? I'm definitely the type, like, if somebody look at me, it ain't no look the other direction. I'm gonna look at you first, and I'm gonna look at you for a minute, and I'm gonna see how long we gonna do this. Now, sometimes I'll be like, okay, maybe I'm gonna look away now because maybe this motherfucker just a weirdo, and, you know, I don't really want no smoke. I ain't gonna hold you. I don't want no smoke. I don't have time for that type of shit. I'm not in that space, okay, of life to where I could just be taking on bullshit after bullshit after bullshit. So it just depends on the context. But I am going to look back either way, though. Because I want you to see me seeing you seeing me. You know what I'm saying? And you just got to pick what's more important to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you win some and you lose some, but you live to fight another day. What is more important to you? Are you trying to prove a point? And if you're trying to prove a point, who is the point for? And if that's not it, like, what's being triggered when you feel like somebody's sizing you up? Like, that's a part of that. If you like get into some type of situation where you feel like a motherfucker trying to size up your value, your worth, your capabilities, you know what I'm saying, your tangible results, whatever. If you get into that, what can you figure out what that connects to? What is the trigger that makes you feel so defensive about it in the first place? You get what I'm saying? Like, what is it? Like with the shit I was saying about the poets and the authors, they all got books, and what triggered me is like I've been wanting to do a book, but I have like doubted myself so much that I just never did it. You know what I'm saying? And here I am, like years later, quite frankly, years later, and motherfuckers is asking me like, "Where is that? Why you didn't?" And so they didn't size me up. I sized my own goddamn self up from guilt. You know what I'm saying? From the guilt of like, blood, I've wasted time. But then I have to go back again. Like, well, I didn't waste time. I wasn't ready. I didn't even know what I was doing. I know what I'm doing now, so I want to do it a certain way. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, really go through your process to determine, like, what the connections are. What are the connections? Why is this a trigger? Why do I feel offended? Because, I mean, shit, it's going to happen time and time again. And to have this, like, cool, calm, collected, like, personality with the shit so that it doesn't knock you off your center is a skill that you have to, like, work on. You have to work on. I feel like with everything that we've been trying to talk about and talking outside of the net, it's like all of these are things that we have to, like, continuously work on and build. And then we might get triggered or we might experience some shit and it makes us feel like we're starting all the way over or something. But the reality is, this is all building. These are all building blocks to the end goal. And the end goal is life. Like, to enjoy life. And so with life being ever changing, we are constantly building the skills that we need to enjoy that life. I think that's what it becomes, like building what we need to build so that we can enjoy the fucking life. So if I get sized up, next time I get sized up, I'm not going to have the same reaction. I won't be as defensive, or I won't be as, like, salty about it. And that's what serves the healthier, happier life. Like, that's how you get there. But I mean, shit, if you just letting other people control your emotional state, it's like handing your life over. I know I've said that shit before. Like, you just handing your life over to somebody. We have to have more control than that. We have to. I don't even think it's an option for real. Like, I've said before, I'm always say, like, once we become aware of how we're acting and how we're carrying ourselves and the emotions that we're dealing with, it becomes our responsibility in that very instant. It becomes our responsibility to do some shit about it. To do something about it. You can no longer, you're accountable now. You can't just go fly off the fucking Richter and blame the next motherfucker. No, you're too enlightened for that, my friend. You better get that ass up and figure that shit out. Stop blaming other motherfuckers for your reactions. You can't keep doing that. Like, that's out, bro. That's out, bro. And so, what does it connect to? Other people, especially those who are not healed, especially those that are not connecting to you and shit like that, like, the way they see you will never be how you see yourself, good or bad. It will never, ever, ever fulfill your own self view. So, I can't stand these motherfuckers on these bikes. Anyways, so yeah, what you gonna do with it? What you gonna do with it? Um, that's pretty much it. I'm going to take some time to think about other topics to talk about. If you have any topics in mind, feel feel free to share with me on my Instagram. Um, I kind of want to start opening up to talk about more like worldly shit, but I'm not sure if that's the direction I want to go in yet. Um, but I'm open to feedback and ideas of shit to talk about for sure, for sure. Um, but that is it. This would be episode I think like 16 now. Been a long time coming. Super excited to get back. I've been thinking about like bringing back some shit I used to do originally before I started the official podcast, which was like Lady Rev's book club. Also like just talking out the side of the neck in the form of like discussing like service providers and people who are supposed to be helping to build community and build community capacity. And more like revolutionary shit, like about like ways for us to disconnect from the status quo, disconnect from the stereotypes, disconnect from the world of oppression, to create a world of freedom and love for ourselves and for others. But I'm trying to figure out how to like intertwine all those different things. And so maybe it'll we'll see how it happens. I want it to be organic either way. But thank y'all for tuning in. Look out for some more content coming. Oh, I did publish a website. I have a new website. It's called Lady Rev's Healing Corner. And it's a space for me to offer coaching, like healing coaching to individuals and businesses. For folks who are interested in initiating that journey and getting the idea of how to get going. And this will definitely connect to the book that's coming out later in the year. So, yeah, that's all my little splurging. That's all it. That's it. Y'all be easy, stay breezy. Don't get kidnapped by no white pieces.